James, we talk about the England team, host nation obviously for the World Cup. Talk us through some of the names that the public can look out for come the World Cup.
Yeah, so we'll have a 10-player squad when the World Cup gets named, and at the moment we've got about 16 players in kind of an extended squad, and we'll slowly whittle that down towards the June test. But I think I have to mention Jack Brown, Golden Boot winner, first Golden Boot winner at the beginning of 2020. Before all this happened, he was the inaugural Golden Boot winner of Wheelchair Rugby League, and he's actually playing in Australia now as well. So that's another drama. We've got to get him over from Australia. He's playing for a team in Queensland. But Jack Brown's one of those players who's a really naturally gifted athlete, and he does a lot behind the scenes, a lot of marginal gains things, a lot of work behind the scenes. He probably doesn't show or tell people, but he has a real natural talent as well, and he can break through teams. He can get the ball from kick-off and just break through teams from the offset. And he's like, when you watch him play like that, it's like watching like Zach Hardwick or something, one of those fullbacks who could catch the ball on their own line and just cut through everyone and end up at the other end. He's got that in him to do, and he's a great leader as well. He's the longest he's been in the game since the offset. He went to the World Cup in 2008 when he was probably still not shaving, and he's been in the game forever. We've got Sebastian, who lives in south of France, another player we've got down there who he's doing it tough at the moment. They're not playing or anything down there, and we're all training back here as England. But yeah, Seb's a really good player. He's got a lot of experience, and he loves the game, and he plays with the French, and he plays in that strong domestic season. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting him over. And we've got Lewis King as well, he's from Kent, and that's Wheelchair Rugby League across the board, but he plays for a team down in Kent, and he debuted against France in 2019, and debuting against France is massive, and it's any player doing that is it's a tough ask. But he went on and he was phenomenal, and he scored as well in his debut, and he's a really good player, and he's one of those players out there where he'll know his role and his responsibilities, and he'll go out there and do his role and responsibilities to the T, and he'll do everything right, and he'll build the platform for the team. But he's a fantastic player as well, and I could talk about everyone, but and little Nathan Collins, Scraps we call him. Do you know, he's like a bit of a live wire. He's a Rhinos player. I play with him at Leeds, and he's one of the players where nothing's going on, and all of a sudden he'll come out of nowhere, this little live wire, scrappy do, and he'll cut through players, or he'll get the ball, and everything he seems to do is timed perfectly. And yeah, he's a phenomenal player, and he'll be a good name to watch as well.
Yeah, he had a phenomenal last World Cup. I remember he was top try scorer.
Yeah.
It came from nowhere really before the tournament.
Yeah, he was 16 years old, and he got called into the squad last minute because another player had to drop out, and he got called up, and he went out there and he was absolutely phenomenal. You know, he went out there, no pressure on him, no expectations either, and he was amazing. I think he got named in the dream team at the end of the whole tournament. Yeah, he's phenomenal, and yeah, it's good having him at Leeds as well, because I get to train with him and get to watch him grow as a player, and he's grown massively. And I think the player he was in 2017, he's far better than that now, and I think it'll show at the end of the year in the World Cup.
And it's a big year for disability sport. Obviously, the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics rolled into 2021 because of COVID.
Yeah.
Will you be hoping to build on that with the Wheelchair Rugby League World Cup? Obviously, there's a big focus on disability sport.
Yeah, massively. I saw what 2012 did. 2012 did for me. I came away from that wanting to find a sport, and I'm hoping people go and watch wheelchair basketball and all the other wheelchair sports and disability sport, that even if they don't come play Wheelchair Rugby League, but if it gets them to go and play any sport or get involved in any disability sport, I think that's the big plus. But biased perspective, I want them to come play Wheelchair Rugby League, and the sport's only getting bigger and bigger, and we've got 20 plus teams now. When I started there was 6, so it's only getting bigger and bigger, and I'm hoping off the back of the Paralympics we get players, but I'm hoping off the back of the World Cup we get players coming to Wheelchair Rugby League as well. I'm hoping 2022 we have people ringing up asking to start Wheelchair Rugby League teams in cities across the country, and I'm hoping we get I want massive things. I want a North and a South League and a Welsh League, and I want teams coming together at the end for a major grand final from the top teams from all these leagues. I want it to be absolutely huge and massive, and I don't just want a 20 league. I want 40, 50 teams, and I'm hoping off the back of all this we get that, and I'm hoping the rugby league sides that don't have, the Super League sides that don't have wheelchair teams, watch the World Cup and watch the wheelchair games, and they see it and they're like, why don't we have a team? Why doesn't our club have a wheelchair team? And I'm hoping they go away and just start one as well.
Yeah, and talking about the impact a World Cup can have, obviously the last 2 World Cups, you mentioned the heartbreak for England, narrow defeats to France. How much will that drive on the England squad this time to go on better?
Yeah, I wasn't in the England team in 2017, but I was in the stands watching, and it was my first year playing the game, and I never really. And that was when I kind of got my spark to want to play international. To the next year, I went and tried out for England. So watching that spurred me on to try and get an England team and play at that level. But playing in 2017 and being in the south of France, in Perpignan with 2,000 French fans in the thing, just celebrating because we'd lost, not because the French won, but because we'd lost. It was hard, it was really tough. And then just having to pack all your kit away, like you can't just go in the changing room, you've got to unpack your chair and put all that down, and just being in there and watching the fans, it was honestly, it was heartbreaking, and it was one of those things where I was like, and a few of the players, you could see them, they all just went to separate sides of the hall and just sat by themselves for a bit, reflecting on the whole thing, and yeah, it was really tough. But I think after a bit of time and reflection, we saw where we went wrong, and we knew where we went wrong. So we came away and we've built a better and a stronger team around the things we did wrong. And yeah, it's going over there in 2019 as well and beating them in France showed that the lessons we learned from 2017 worked. So now there's a few more lessons we're going to put in place, and hopefully come November, all the little things we've done are going to be enough, and yeah, we'll take the trophy.
Obviously, all sports has been impacted by the COVID pandemic and the shutdown and everything else, but particularly so wheelchair rugby league. You still, domestic competition hasn't restarted yet. But what's the last year, 18 months been for you guys? It's
been really tough, to be honest, and a lot of the players the Rhinos team, we're really close, and we're really proud of ourselves on that. We have been for a long time, and that's what's brought us success, and that's what's brought us all the way through to having so many players in international teams. But we've done a lot for each other, and we've chatted constantly. We chat every day in our group, and in the first lockdown, it seems like 2-3 years ago now. In the first lockdown, we were doing 2 or 3 training sessions a week. We'd get on on Messenger or something, and we'd all take it in turns to lead a sessions, 6, 8 of us, something like that, and we were chatting, and it's disability sports, so I think a lot of players are in the positions where they had to shield early on, so they weren't seeing anyone, and they weren't getting a chance to go out to the shops, or even just that, I'd take my dogs for a walk. People couldn't do that because they had to shield and batten down. So there's a lot of the players I think have struggled behind the scenes, and we've made sure from Leeds' perspective that we've been there for each other if any players have struggled or needed chatting. And there's been times where I've been I'll just text one of the players, see what they're doing, and get a chat together, and you didn't realise sometimes you might have needed that chat more than them. But it's been hard training, but not knowing what we're training for as well. Everyone was training at home, and then thinking, I thought we'd be playing last July, so we were training at home ready for that, and then to know the season didn't go ahead or anything, it knocks you training. You feel like, should I keep training or should I just stop? And then this year we got back as an England team training together, and that's been a massive boost. I think all the players coming together, and it shows how hard people have been working behind the scenes. We've come together as an England team, and people are in shape and they're fit and they're switching on, and it shows that people didn't just switch off behind the scenes. We've all been working hard behind the scenes to get to play again and to hopefully get selected for the internationals.
I presume that's great that the RFL have got behind that team and enabled you to have that bubble together as a team, and hopefully that will, when the tough times come in tournament, that'll bind you together. Yeah, it's great, and I think it shows a massive, like we're talking about, it shows a massive how far wheelchair rugby league has come now compared to how it was years ago. The fact we're turning up as an England team, and we've got our nutritionists there and our physios there, we're getting lateral flow tests in the morning before we train, and I just look and I'm like, we're getting treated like professional athletes, and it brings an expectation on you as a player and the other players that you are getting treated like professional athletes now, so you have to act like a professional athlete, you have to train like a professional athlete, and it's where I never thought the game would be at this stage, and it's amazing to see we get this level of treatment and trust as well. I think a lot of it is, but those exemptions were massive, and during the last lockdown that we're coming out of now, we get our exemptions, but we have to find somewhere to train. So I'm ringing around trying to find places I can go, and luckily I know a local gym that have been really supportive for me, where I could go in and train when the manager was in there doing office work or doing things like that. So I had somewhere to go and train, just me. And I thought it would be really good at first, me having the gym to myself, but it's hard to train sometimes. It's just you in the gym, and you've got to find that motivation and find that inner motivation and to just be in there by yourself. And it's quite eerie to get your sessions in, but they were really supportive for me. They were brilliant. So it's because of that expectation you have now as an athlete going into the World Cup.